Whether the U.S. government wants to admit it or not, we are in a recession, crisis, food shortages, fertilizer shortages, labor market shortages, chip shortages. A housing market crash is imminent. Rent prices are heading higher. Banks and liquidity crises are increasing. The question is, how do families prepare for these crises as they unfold? Financial preparedness, economic preparedness, drought, railroad strikes, supply chain problems, owner-operator truckers being forced to make very tough decisions with their businesses, AB 5 forcing trucking companies to either fire workers, lay them off, or bring them on as employees, increasing their expenses and decreasing their profit margins. But these are not the only issues that we're dealing with. What about the dollars in your pocket, the U.S. currency? Do you have any gold, silver, XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, or other cryptocurrencies? Or are you relying on credit cards like Visa, MasterCard, American Express? The US dollar remains to be the world's reserve currency, but back in the year 2000, 70% of global central bank currency reserves were held in dollars. But today, that number is down to 59%. So what does this mean? What does this mean for the dollars in your bank account? What does this mean for the dollars in your safe under your mattress? Well, for starters, the dollar is now more vulnerable. And while others will say that, it's now at its strongest, we have to realize that other countries and other leaders have been planning to set up a new global currency for quite some time now. One that could potentially remove the US dollar from its spot. Now, that doesn't sound very good to you, does it? It certainly doesn't sound very good to me. Also, cyber attacks have been hitting different government services, with hackers supposedly holding our information for ransom. Do you guys think that our security with our government websites and services is too weak, or are the hackers literally just that good? For more news and information on the U.S. economy, economic preparedness, economic preparation, economic survival, stock market updates, and increasing your income, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also click that notification button. I appreciate you guys always dropping a like for my videos, but let's go ahead and jump into today's update. So whenever I get on this platform and I talk to you guys, I try to be as down the middle as I can. I try not to be all political or anything like that. And I do my best not to, let whatever personal opinions that I have prevent me from giving you guys the actual truth. Now, I want you guys to check this out and you judge for yourselves.
From January through the end of April, the military administered 2.8 million doses of the vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. A new study describes how 23 service members later developed chest pain and sought medical attention. Tests showed it was myocarditis.
Myocarditis is an inflammation of the heart muscle. And typically, this is seen in response to an infection.
For context, this was last year. But it wasn't the only thing that stood out from last year, and it seems as if we're being put in the dark for a reason. Watch this next clip that has John O'Looney, a funeral director in the UK, speaking out about the abnormalities that he saw with vaccines.
We were doing funerals. It wasn't busy. In fact, even despite the great effort they made in care homes to bump the numbers up, overall 2020 was quieter than 2019. For death rate, and the vast majority of funerals we do in the UK are cremation funerals. I would estimate around 95% of them are cremations, and the odd 5% would be burials. We weren't up on numbers, and it was the same everywhere. The statistics don't lie. They're government statistics that show there was no real increase, and it kind of got to the point where I said to a few people, I began to smell a rat. We weren't being told the truth, and I said to people, I bet the death rate soars in January when they begin vaccinating, and everybody laughed at me. They said, no, don't be so stupid, you're mad. And we came back to work on the 2nd, and on the 6th they began vaccinating, and the death rate was extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it as a funeral director in 15 years, and neither has anyone else that I've spoken to. And it began exactly when they began putting needles in arms.
It's honestly crazy to think that this happened. And like I said, you guys are free to think however you want to think. I'm just here to give you the research and the data. But the government did respond to the worries of people, especially when it came to our worries about getting a vaccine. Here's what CDC Director Rochelle Walensky had to say to anyone that has their apprehensions.
Here's what I will say about our updated vaccine. We are simplifying our message. The message is you need to get your fall booster vaccine. So go ahead and get it.
There you go, guys. No need to think twice about it. Just get boosted. They're making it that simple. No explanations needed. Again, you're free to decide whatever you want to do, but the narrative is very questionable, especially when we hear from funeral directors that deaths actually went up when people started getting vaccinated. Well, what do you guys think? Should we just follow their instructions? The health crisis has certainly hit many Americans and businesses around the country. Although, despite this, the US dollar seems to be stronger than ever. But there are signs that this may not be the case for much longer. There's a couple of reasons, but let's start with how politicians in our country have been abusing our dollar's privileges, the dollar's privileged status by borrowing trillions of dollars. It's also why economists blame stimulus checks for the inflation that we have today. However, many Americans are thankful for just how much stimulus checks have helped them, especially as many here in our community have said that they paid off rental properties, maybe housing expenses, caught up on their mortgage payments, Visa, MasterCard, American Express credit card bills, and most importantly, and most especially, food and grocery expenses. However, things are very different today, and the same $1,400 stimulus checks that we got last year, they won't be able to buy the same items and quantities due to inflation. We also have a very mixed reaction when it comes to the $2,000 stimulus check that President Biden promised. Mitch McConnell and other lawmakers seem to think that Americans are still flush with cash and that further pain needs to be inflicted on the American people. But let's talk about the goal of other countries, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, or the BRICS, to set up a new global currency other than the US dollar. While it's just 5 countries, they make up 41% of the global population, 24% of global GDP, and 16% of global trade. The threat isn't here yet, but best believe that you shouldn't hold all of your wealth in dollars. Maybe invest in precious metals like gold and silver, something tangible. Real estate, perhaps. Businesses. Many businesses are worth billions and billions of dollars, but those billions and billions of dollars that businesses could be worth could easily be exchanged in whatever the popular flavor of currency is in the future. Maybe it's Bitcoin, some form of cryptocurrency, who knows? With the unpredictability of the global markets, it is best to always be prepared. Now, you shouldn't just hold all of your money in the bank either. Let's just look at what happened with the Central Bank of Australia. They just came clean and admitted that their entire equity has been completely wiped out due to the buying of bonds. Where have we heard countries buying up bonds before? Oh wait, right here in the US. Deputy Governor Michelle Bullock of the Reserve Bank of Australia said that they had lost around $30 billion from 2021 to the present. How were bonds collected? Well, they used a $300 billion emergency stimulus program from November 2020 to February of this year. Now, here's the craziest part of this story. Also familiar, by the way. Bullock said this, quote, "Since it has the ability to create money, keyword being create, the bank can continue to meet its obligations as they become due, so it is not insolvent," end quote. Now, that doesn't sound like a good idea, does it? What do you guys think of that? Now, although it is best to hold off until the government can secure our information, especially when it comes to our finances, the cyber attack that has affected Suffolk County in New York still has several departments completely shut down. Now, what's worse is that the hackers are holding the sensitive data of residents in the area, and Rosanna Filingeri, VP of Business Development at CyberSafe Solutions, said something that doesn't really help ease the worries of the people here. She said this, quote, "When you log into the bank, oftentimes it sends you that text message. That's called multi-factor authentication. We recommend for everyone to have that on all of their personal accounts," end quote. How would you feel if someone told you that your money in the bank is compromised? Imagine if you had everything there, you would be done. This is why it may be wise not to hold all your eggs in one basket. It's not a good idea. And always have some cash at home, not like $20,000 or anything crazy, but just enough to keep going for a month or two. I mean, now that I think about it, as expensive as life has become, inflation, and the higher cost of just about everything, maybe $20,000 is needed to make it for 2 months. Who knows? As we know just how secure our banks and government offices are, it is up to us to take care of us. And we must remain prepared and provide for our families. How are you preparing? What are your thoughts on today's updates? Make sure to get in on the conversation and leave me a comment down below. And while you guys are down there, feel free to drop a thumbs up for the video. I really appreciate that. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want to see more content and updates like this one regarding our economy, regarding your money, your bank accounts, economic preparation, stock market updates, what the heck is going on in the housing market, and just overall economic preparedness, consider subscribing to the channel. I wish you guys a great day. Be safe. I'll see you on the next one.